Dash sounds fast, sounds pretty good, and it was built for that speed piece. So as we develop this CPO, it's an idea, right? It's this idea and this pursuit for speed. It results in this unique construction. You talked about the laundry list of players that were part of the original testing. Who's using it today? What is the current presence of Left Dash out on the PGA Tour and the worldwide tours today? Team Titleist asks us questions all the time, and we've got a great one here from Eddie the Carp from Pennsylvania. So Eddie the Carp currently plays Pro V1, but wouldn't mind a little bit higher launch. Mike, I'm going to let you talk launch versus flight in just a little bit. But I do like the spin window I'm currently in, and Pro V1x spins too much. Do you think Pro V1x Left Dash would be a good golf ball for me? So, Frederick, I'd start with you. Do you think Eddie the Carp should experiment with Left Dash?
Absolutely, Eddie. I think if you're looking to take a little spin out of your game, Left Dash is a great place to look. It spins a little less than Pro V1, but it flies high in that window like Pro V1x. So if that's what you're looking for, you like that flight window, but you want less spin, you should definitely try Left Dash.
And how would you recommend Eddie the Carp take his current Pro V1 and Left Dash out to the golf course to really understand and evaluate whether it's the right ball?
Well, you want to start by the green. Left Dash is built really for speed, and in some ways it sacrifices a little bit of greenside spin and control. So make sure you're comfortable with the spin you're going to give up around the greens and with short irons with Left Dash versus Pro V1, and then go back, closer to the tee and see how they compare. They're going to be probably more similar than different, maybe a slight height difference. But you want to start near the green, see how that spin and feel difference affects your game.
And Mike, talk a little bit about the differences that Eddie's going to experience. We just heard about what Eddie might see on the golf course. Why are there differences between Pro V1 and Pro V1x Left Dash?
Yeah, different constructions. It's a high compression golf ball. It's got a large center dual core construction. It's got a firmer cast urethane cover than Pro V1, Pro V1x. So that combination of things is going to lower that spin pretty much across the board compared to Pro V1. And then separately, it has a different dimple pattern on it. So even though it's lower spin, we control that pattern to make it fly a little higher. So it flies in that window, probably not quite as high as X, but higher than Pro V1.
So it's going to give Eddie that higher flight, but it's not going to spin like Pro V1x. So it might be a really great option.
Yeah.
Eddie, you should check it out. And for everyone else in Team Titleist, let's talk a little bit about Left Dash and its origins. I'd love to know, it's a really important piece of the fitting puzzle now as you're evaluating how to play your best golf. But Frederick, take us back through time. When did Left Dash first make its appearance both in R&D and out on tour?
Yeah, well, customized performance options, CPOs, they're designed to meet a specific player need and test technologies that we want to maybe scale up one day into our stock products. And Left Dash was the perfect marriage of those two. We started playing around with it in R&D in 2017 and testing it extensively on the PGA Tour, LPGA Tour, and actually, interestingly enough, with a lot of college players. The idea was, let's build the fastest golf ball we can and let everything else kind of fall out where it is. So we weren't focused on feel. We wanted enough spin for it to be really playable by the best players in the world, and you and I. But that was second in terms of the order of importance. And so we went through our process. We built prototypes. We went out on the tours. We went, actually, as we look back on it now, to some colleges. We went to Oklahoma State and tested with Victor Hovland when he was there. We tested with Austin Eckroat when he was there. These guys both have tour cards now. We went to Georgia Tech, tested with Andy Ogletree, who was a student then. He won the U.S. Amateur with it in 2019, a few years later. And we went to Alabama. We tested with Davis Riley. Players that have tour cards now, back then they were in college, it was a really great process to then introduce it on the PGA Tour in Tampa in March of 2018. And it's been played consistently on the PGA Tour and LPGA Tour ever since.
And so, Mike, when you hear that chase and that pursuit of speed, you have the luxury knowing you already have Pro V1 and Pro V1x, which are fantastic golf balls that have great distance. But this was clearly going after something unique. Mm-hmm. So when you hear that and the R&D team takes in that request, what'd you go do? What did you explore? What avenues did you explore? And what were the yields from this Pro V1x Left Dash exploration.
Yeah, and CPOs are exciting in that way, and that the engineers get to try some things that maybe not be as fully vetted out in the manufacturing side of things, because when you get to Pro V1, Pro V1x, they're just made on such a large scale. Precision needs to be just super dialed in order for it to work. CPOs, we have a little more flexibility to keep a closer eye on the process, so it doesn't have to be as perfect from a processing standpoint, so we can really try some new things. And we had several things come out of Left Dash's areas that were kind of things that we never tried before or haven't tried nearly as much, especially in tour plate products. We had the large center dual core, and the work that goes into doing a new dual core in the plant. Any dual core is difficult, but anytime you change that process, there's challenges and there's things you got to learn along the way. So we're able to do a larger center dual core. That's when we really started working towards the high flex modulus casing layer in the tour level products and getting that on the product, because we knew that was a great option for us to increase ball speed and reduce the spin of that product. And actually, I mean, the aliphatic covers that we use on Pro V1 and Pro V1x Yellow actually kind of started in the left dash family as well, because some of the first versions of that were in the aromatic cover, which was a harder cover than Pro V1 and Pro V1x. But some of the early feedback was the shear durability wasn't that great, and we shifted to a different version of the aliphatic cover that had a little bit better durability, and that was another way to get that into the plant and really start working on that. And 2 years later is when we were mass producing that for the yellow versions of the products.
Mike, normally when all things are created equal and you talk about an increased compression and you talk about increased speed, that comes with an increase of spin. We know that all the different layers contribute to the overall performance. Why is it that in this case, we're actually creating a Pro V1x golf ball that has less spin?
It's because of the balance of that large center dual core, the high gradient that you're able to achieve within that, and the casing layer that you're using. That high flex casing layer is a lower spin option. So we're able to balance all those bits and pieces. And then the cover that we're using on Left Dash is a harder cover, and those will inherently be lower spin. So all of those things, even though compression goes up, which would by itself make spin go up, all those other pieces are working to drive the spin right back down.
So you tested a lot of different elements. You tested a new dual core, a high flex casing layer, unique cast urethane covers. Which of those innovations made their way into now the readily available Pro V1 and Pro V1x as an experimental concept that now is in the mainline product?
All of them at some point in time, like the high flex casing layer. High flex casing came into the 21 versions of VNX. The large center dual core was part of 23. Some of the high gradient work that we've been working on with that and Left Dot, that came in 23 as well. And the aliphatic cover work, as I said, is part of the yellow development for every product every VNX that we have.
And it comes with a unique name. It's a Pro V1x, but it's got a left dash. Frederick, walk us through the process, the naming conventions. What does that mean? Because it's not the only CPO, but it's certainly, I think, the most popular CPO.
Yeah, as we've developed different CPOs over the years, we've used different symbols to denote more or less of something. Typically, if it's to the right of the name, like a plus, it means more spin or more higher flight or something like that. If it's to the left, like Pro V1 Left Dot or Left Dash, it means less. And in this case, it's less spin really for Left Dash. And so that's where it comes from. We use different symbols, dots and dashes, but it's not much more complicated than that.
I'm big on simple. Dash sounds fast, sounds pretty good, and it was built for that speed piece. So as we develop this CPO, it's an idea, right? It's this idea and this pursuit for speed. It results in this unique construction. You talked about the laundry list of players that were part of the original testing. Who's using it today? What is the current presence of Left Dash out on the PGA Tour and the worldwide tours today?
Yeah, Left Dash has a consistent following out on the PGA Tour. It's typically 5-6 players every week. Luke Donald would be a player that plays Left Dash, Patrick Rogers, David Lipsky. In their cases, they're typically players that are looking to take spin out in their long game and are really good around the greens because, as Mike said, there is a deficiency when it comes to spin somewhat around the greens. but they feel the benefit to their long game is why they want to play it, and it gives them an advantage. So we see it week in, week out on tour. It's been played on the LPGA Tour. Lydia Ko has won with it on the LPGA Tour as well. So it's not just the PGA Tour that we see it. We see it on different worldwide tours in addition to the college game.
And so it being a complementary piece to Pro V1, Pro V1x, but sounding pretty interesting, if an amateur golfer is watching this saying like, gosh, maybe I should think about that. Talk a little bit about what we see in the marketplace, what we see at fitting events around the US and around the world. How many folks are fitting into Left Dash as compared to a Pro V1 or a Pro V1x?
Yeah, fitting events are such a great environment to really dive into a player's game and understand what's going to help them play their best. And we see about 12% of players who come through a Titleist tour level fitting getting fit into Left Dash. Typically, it's a player who's really steep. They generate a lot of spin. You're smiling because you're one of them. I am too. But taking that spin out of the long game actually gives them a little more distance. It can make them more accurate. And Left Dash provides a lot of spin and control around the greens that players are able to take advantage of. And so in a fitting environment, it's a great option for, again, someone who they need to bring some spin out of their long game.
Mike, it's probably pretty tempting for golfers who might be chasing distance to gravitate towards a Left Dash. But are there circumstances where maybe a Left Dash isn't the right fit and wouldn't optimize the distance for a player?
Absolutely. I mean, you talk about starting at the green and working backwards. If you're someone who's spin deficient, picking up a yard or two off of the tee isn't going to be a good trade-off for not being able to stop the ball on the green, right? If you're spin deficient, you probably need to be going towards a Pro V1x to make sure you can actually make that ball stop, because what you need to remember is whether it's V or X or in this case Left Dash, by the time you get back to the tee, it's going to be good. Your distance is going to be great. Pick the ball that works near the green.
And I think that's probably why it explains why it's not a majority of our fits, but is a very nice complement to what Pro V1 and Pro V1x bring to the table. The other premium offering that we have that's a lower spin offering is AVX. Mike, talk a little bit about what differentiates Left Dash and how it delivers low spin as compared to AVX and how it delivers low spin.
Yeah, I would say completely different constructions. We've got dual core and Left Dash. AVX is a thicker, softer cover. It's a lower compression. The trade-offs in how that ball performs throughout the bag is different. The Left Dash is going to spin great around the greens, even though it's not quite up to the spin of Pro V1, Pro V1x, probably in a little bit more than AVX. AVX is going to be lower spin across the board, and particularly where you're going to see it is through your irons. The irons are just long with AVX because of that low compression, the low spin, and gives you that short game spin compared to an AVX type construction.
And then looking back on the exploration, so 2017, it becomes an idea. 2018, it's out on the PGA Tour. Mike, what does a program like this do for the R&D department? You said it's a lot of fun to work on, but what does it mean, and what's the value of being able to experiment in this way with the best players in the world?
It's a lot of fun because it gets us to get out and learn about a group of players that play the game a little bit differently. One of our goals with our player testing group is we don't want there to ever be a player, and certainly goes for on tour, but really it goes for everyone. We never want there to be a player who goes, they don't have a ball for me. They don't have a ball for my game. That's why we have these products that are specifically different from one another, so there's options for everybody. And the CPO program is really the kind of the top end of that. Of we've got a small contingent of players on the top level tours who need a certain kind of performance. Let's go make it for them first, see if it works. But the exciting thing for R&D is along the process, we get to try new stuff. We get to build new tools. And as we've talked about, eventually you get good enough at those tools, working with operations, getting those new things into the plants that they become options for everything going forward. And it just helps make our future products even better.
And Frederick, some of the CPOs that we've seen out on tour, they've been available in the marketplace, some for limited periods of time. Dash seems to actually have grown in its popularity out in the marketplace, seems to be more readily available now. Take us back to that decision. How is the decision made to make a Left Dash available to the public, and what are the driving inputs that help choose and make that decision?
Well, first, it has to have a meaningful impact for the golfer. Is it something that is really going to help them play better? You know, Pro V1 and Pro V1x, they are so good. And with the addition of AVX back in 2017, we really had 3 golf balls in 2017, 18, 19 that fit the majority of golfers who play for fun like you and I do. But in 2019, as we did more testing with Left Dash, we saw what was happening with it on tour. We thought that there might be an opportunity for players like you and I to go play it and buy it and enjoy it because we thought it might fit their game in a way that just AVX and Pro V1 didn't, because it fits kind of in between them in terms of spin. So we launched it in October of 2019, and it has been very limited. It's been available as a fitting option. As you said, now it's more readily available, and we're talking about it more. That's why we're here today. And we think as golfers get a chance to get fit and really play with it, that there's a subset of golfers, again, it's only about 12% when we fit with a tour level fitting, a Titleist tour level fitter, but that could benefit from it. So we want it to be available for them in that way. And we think now with these 4 options, Pro V1, Pro V1x, Left Dash, and AVX, we really have the best options for golfers to get dialed in to play the best.
And Mike, I think you nailed it. We have an obligation. Number 1 ball in golf means a lot to those of us who work here. It means we've got a golf ball for you. If you're willing to put in the time and the energy to be fit, we're going to make sure that we have a golf ball for you. And I think the CPO program is a big part of our future simply because we owe it to the golfer to have that option. So thanks for the innovation. Frederick, maybe you can personify it. A lot of people ask, well, how do I know if it's for me? What's your story? What did you play? And what were the shots in your game that really made you realize Left Dash was the right golf ball for you?
Boy, I'm lucky to have access to a lot of testing, both equipment and golf balls, and you need that. But actually, I was talking to someone earlier today about it. I remember going and playing Pro V1, because again, bringing that spin down versus Pro V1x, playing AVX, feeling like it flew a little too low for me. But doing an extensive testing session on the driving range, getting some numbers, and thinking Left Dash really looked good in that place for me. But then taking to the golf course and making sure that it worked as we're out there actually hitting golf shots. That was in the summer of 2019, and I've been playing Left Dash ever since.
It fits a lot of folks, but we know Pro V1 and Pro V1x are going to fit the vast majority. But important for us to have these complements, important for us to have fitting tools available for our fitters around the country. So it's really valuable for folks to spend a little bit of time on the golf course, green to tee, understanding what Left Dash might mean for them. So thanks, guys, for sharing some knowledge. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thanks.